Forced drive. I think the post office still has them too. So, anyways, bear in mind, a lot of people just don't do that anymore. They don't write letters. When I do get a letter from a family member, I'm like amazed. But because everybody does email. It's so much easier, isn't it? But it is nice when somebody takes the time to actually handwrite it, and they have great punctuation and penmanship, which I don't. My penmanship is deplorable. I could literally say that about my own writing. It's just, I should have been a doctor. Dr. Keith. Imagine a state that passes a law welcoming, embracing, and protecting criminals, directly endangering citizens. We were talking about California. Now, the Washington Times, this came right out of their newspaper. Then imagine that same state passing laws and judges issuing orders that make no sense except to mismanage people's lives in the name of keeping them safe. That same week that the number of cities and counties in California sued their own state over the dangerous lawmaking that the state sanctuary and illegal alien criminals, a judge issued a ruling to save Californians from themselves and their coffee drinking habit. There's a suit brought against Starbucks. Did you hear about this one? No? 90 companies under a controversial law passed by California voters in 1986 that has been credited with curling cancer-causing chemicals. Yeah. I'm not even making this up. Because people said drinking coffee, for years we were told that it would stave off colon cancer and a lot of different cancers and all that. But this was a 1986 voters in California that they're citing this. And while there is no scientific consensus on the health benefits or dangers of coffee, CNBC reported, some of the reporters, they reminded readers that the World Health Organization removed coffee from its possible carcinogen list in 2016, citing studies that indicate coffee is unlikely to cause breast, prostate, or pancreatic cancer, and it seems to lower the risk of liver and urinary cancers. And if you want to understand what the left is up to, then you just need to look at the direction and policies of Los Angeles and London. Like the 8 years of the Obama administration, both cities provide excellent examples of the damage liberalism inflicts when unrestrained. You like that? Tammy Bruce, she contributed to this, and I am thinking that she is spot on, and I really like how she just surmised the foolishness, the damage liberalism inflicts when unrestrained, when they can just go hog wild. The Washington Times provided the details on the men below who had their records wiped clean by a governor who seems to like making political points against President Trump at the expense of the safety and well-being of the people of California. Soka Chan, who is in custody of the Immigration and Customs Enforcement pending deportation, Cambodia, he was convicted of inflicting corporal injury with the intent to terrorize his spouse. Been pardoned. Daniel Mayer, a native of Macau, was sentenced in 1995 for kidnapping, robbery, and using a firearm. He was detained by ICE in 2015. We could go on and on and on. Francisco Alvarez, convicted of vehicle theft. Sergio Mina, sentenced in 2003 for possession of a controlled substance for sale. Yeah, and poisoning many and killing many. Thank you, Mr. Drug Dealers. But over about 1,500 people so far that he's this is your California, folks. What do you think about that? You live out in California? I want to hear from you. We got plenty of supporters in California. ForThePeopleShow.com, on Facebook, For the People Show. A lot of folks following us on Facebook. We appreciate that. Like us and comment. We appreciate the likes, but your comments spur a lot of conversation, and it promotes the radio show. So comment, and the more of you guys comment and start a thread, the more hits we get on our show and the more promotion. So we appreciate for those that will do this and contribute. But if you live out in California, For the People's Show, you can find us on Facebook, or if you forget all that, forthepeopleshow.com. You can find our social media apparatuses where you can click on them individually, and you can find them on YouTube, on Twitter, hashtag Talk to Keith Allen. That's TALK2TO, Keith Allen, and Allen, ALAN. I have to say all this because people get confused. But there you go. We got it in broadcast form. And the nice thing, if you listen to the podcast, you can rock it back in the player. Roll it back, kind of like a tape recorder. Now, there's been students that, the Lakeland massacre that, feel like we don't need to have any teachers or faculty or anybody in the school to have a gun to protect the students. There's people that really think that, and that's their thought. They have a right to their thought. I mean, everybody has their thoughts and their thinking, and everybody's, there. I don't see the point. Guns do protect people. Walls protect people. That's why people have security guards, why people have armed security guards. That's why the president has armed detail. The CIA, they carry guns. Every leader does. Every politician does. And shouldn't citizens have that same protection from those that know how to fire a gun, that those are responsible, that know how to keep a gun, that are trained to shoot the gun when needing to do so? And let me just, if I may do this, I have the microphone and I believe I'm entitled to do so at this moment. Since 9/11, people have come to accept, largely speaking, TSA. Right? You got to take your shoes off and the long lines sometimes. But do you not feel safer when there's an air marshal aboard? And most flights have an air marshal. Did you know that? Most flights do. And they're armed. They can subdue. They can take somebody down. I like the idea. And it brings me comfort, and I know a lot of other people that I know the same. And knowing that somebody's there has got your back in case the unthinkable happens. And folks, it's going to happen again, and it's going to happen again. Because the problem we're learning that we already know, it's people that are mentally deranged, ticking time bombs out there where family members have done nothing about it. Some police officers in the FBI have done nothing about it too. They're not taking it seriously. They don't know what to do with the problem. They don't know how to handle the problem. I don't have all the answers myself, but I will tell you this. If you see something, say something. Some states you can Baker Act, others you can't. But if somebody is acting erratically, they should not have possession of a gun or should be around a gun or near a gun. But more people need to get involved when you see quacks, especially when you hear them doing some strange but peculiar things. People need to speak up a lot more, because if they do not, there's going to be a lot more havoc in this country, unfortunately. We have to be, and believe me, police officers work hand in hand with communities all over the United States. It's a community effort because citizens will call the police. There's a hotline. You can call the police. And believe me, people do it every single day. And if it wasn't for the eyes out there, because police can't do it all. They can't just be there. And some schools are better staffed than others. Not all schools are the same. And parents know this all over the country. They do what they can. They do the best job they possibly can. But, man, money's scarce. You know this to be true because every time you go to the school, they're asking for money for something. Always, it's just the sign of the times. They literally don't have the money. I mean, I don't get too upset when they ask. I may not be able to give, but I try to give and try to listen to what they have to say because they're really trying to do something. And a lot of these teachers, they reach in their own pocketbooks. I admire teachers. I'm very fond of them, and I'm thankful for some good teachers in my life that took the time to teach me and shown me kindness and inspired me. And I'm very grateful for teachers. So if you're a teacher out there, you know a teacher, God bless you. You've done a great job. Not easy. You could have picked another profession that probably paid a whole lot more. But what you're doing is incredible. Well, all right, back to these students. The students in Colorado I'm talking to specifically who support the Second Amendment. We here at For the People, we support the Second Amendment responsibly. Well, they staged their own walkout this past Wednesday. It's in an effort to counter the pro-gun control rallies taking place across the nation following the deadly shooting at the Florida high school up the road from me, Woodland Parkland High School, an hours north of Pikes Peak. They began the 30-minute pro-Second Amendment rally with a moment of silence for victims of the past school shootings. I don't believe that guns are the problem, said student Harvey Armstead. I think it's more of the people, and that people are trying to blame the intimate object for something that's not them. What do you think of their comments? Do you think that they're right on? I think we have another soundbite of some of the students saying some other things. Let's go ahead and play that soundbite.
I don't believe that guns are the problem. I think it's more of the people.
If we have more armed officers or some type of security at our school and teachers trained more, that it will honestly stop or prevent school shootings a lot more.
I like that. Training. That's smart kids. Training, funding, money. We mentioned the money part, but training and having people that not everybody on the faculty is going to want to carry a gun, and they don't have to. But there needs to be somebody in that school so they're not sitting ducks. You don't have a gun, somebody's got a gun, you're a sitting duck. I always like to watch some of the martial arts shows. I was bigger into them when I was a kid, teenager, young adult. I'm still considered a young adult, right in my 40s. Yeah, somewhat, but you get the point. But you'd see this guy going off with his Taekwondo or whatever martial art that he learned. And they just were incredible to watch. But I'll never forget this particular movie. The guy was doing his martial arts deal, and all of a sudden, the criminal pulled out his gun and shot the guy dead. Not like a Jackie Chan movie where he's able to get the gun out of his hand. You can't outrun a bullet, my friend. You can't do it. But if you can duck and take cover, and you got a gun and you can shoot, these students, I think, are onto something here, and I'm glad they're counter-protesting. They have the right to do it. I know there's a lot of people that it's always been a contentious issue with the guns. You're like, well, who's killing the people? It's not the gun. It's not the guns. It's the people that are killing people. I said, yeah, but it's the apparatus. You're not going to be able to bring these people back. It's sad what's happened to these kids. Yeah, the guns should not end up in the criminals' hands. Unfortunately, that's why they call them criminals. No matter how strict, in Chicago and New York, New Jersey, some of the stricter California, strictest gun laws on the books, you make it stricter. These criminals, they become criminal. What do? They criminalize. They terrorize. They find ways, and there's a market out there, folks. For the right amount of money, you're going to be able to find something. Listen, I grew up in New York, believe me. There's every town, every city, some of the smallest towns in America. You got some Benjamins on you, all right? You got enough money, you can buy anything. That's just the reality. And a lot of parents got these guns. A lot of people have them, and they talk about them. And friends know about them, and then they grab them and